New York, our country, and Roosevelt Island. And I particularly want to thank Cornell University and Technion for putting together this event tonight and bringing all of the proper officials here to answer all of your questions and to give their vision of where we're going forward. My deepest gratitude to Mayor Bloomberg and his team, Deputy Mayor Steele, who's here tonight, and Seth Pinsky, for having the wisdom to see the possibilities if they could bring a new applied sciences school to our city. It is my absolute favorite project of the many wonderful projects that our mayor has brought to the city. It is visionary, it is optimistic, it is investing in people, it's investing in our economic strength, and very creative. It was an absolutely brilliant concept, and while New York has great schools, it did not have a top 5 tier school in engineering. And we know, and I hear in my offices from businesses, that they cannot get enough engineers to fill the jobs they have that are properly trained. And perhaps for that reason, New York has not developed the reputation for high-tech innovation that the greatest city in the world should have. And thanks to their big idea, all of that is about to change right here on Roosevelt Island. This project is a great partnership between the city and the university and the community on Roosevelt Island. The city is providing city-owned land and up to $100 million in infrastructure investments, an incredibly generous offer that lured more than a dozen top-ranked institutions from all over the world to present their bids. Lots of places can say they want to attract a top-tier engineering school, but the city offered an inducement that brought the best of the best to the table.
Just want to put this in front of you.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to recognize Matthew Katz. Matthew, stand up and take a bow. The president of Roosevelt Island Residents Association. And we thank you for all of your support for this project and all the residents that are here that are supporting the project. And I believe one of the reasons Roosevelt Island was selected was because of the community that was so welcoming. And by the way, we saved our post office. How in the world could we have a great university without a post office, right? I am sure that the warm welcome to Roosevelt Island made an enormous contribution to Cornell's decision to select this site and the city's decision to choose Cornell's proposal. I want to especially congratulate President Scorton and his team for their outstanding work on this project. They decided that they wanted to win this bid, and they were incredibly dedicated and smart in how they went about doing it. Cornell looked at New York City as a great place to find students with the raw talent, drive, determination, and skill to be molded into great scientists. Truly, there is nowhere in the world like New York City for attracting talent. It's the place people want to come, to visit, and to live. It's the creative center of the world, the financial center of the world, the fashion center of the world, and soon it will be the IT and engineering center of the world. Cornell saw the potential in Roosevelt Island. This island is a wonderful oasis in the heart of New York City. It has a small town feel and offers an idyllic setting for students and faculty. It has 2 new parks, and I want to mention that the Four Freedoms Park is going to be a destination, a tourist destination. And on Tuesday, they're putting in the trees for the park, and we are celebrating my $500,000 grant to get the trees put in, and we're having a press conference at 11 o'clock at the park, if anybody wants to come and join us. But it's another wonderful attraction for the students to enjoy the beauty there, the beauty of the island, a quiet place to study, and to learn. And this is such a warm, welcoming community. You have your wonderful residents deeply involved in the community. Plus, Roosevelt Island is a great transportation connections in both Manhattan and Western Queens. Of all the sites that were offered in the RFP process, Roosevelt Island was always the one that in my mind made the most sense, and I'm thrilled that it was the one that was selected. And its proximity to Western Queens means that as the university begins to fulfill its promise to generate high-tech startups, there's a perfect place for them to go. Cornell drew up an outstanding and very persuasive plan that included a proposal to start the school next year, even before the campus is built. I must say they won in all aspects, but I was particularly struck by their architectural design that was inviting to the community. It preserved the waterfront so that the community and students could continue to enjoy the waterfront. Other applicants put the buildings right up to the waterfront so that no one would have had access to it. Cornell has an aggressive timetable, and it is clear that they need to get this done as quickly as possible. Representatives of Cornell met with absolutely everyone, people within the city administration, every elected official, representatives of the community here at Roosevelt Island in Western Queens, business leaders, and probably dozens of others that I don't even know about. And they went out and found an incredibly generous donor to make clear how serious they are about completing and making this one of the best schools in America. One of the goals of this project is to provide a pool of great talent to local businesses. And I must say that many of the high-tech firms have already located satellite offices in New York, Google, Twitter, all of them. And so these graduates will be working at these schools and founding the next new type of innovative businesses. Another goal is to generate new startup high-tech businesses. As many as 400 new businesses are projected. Roosevelt Island and Western Queens are the frontier in a new technology revolution. A center for business, not just for New York, but for the entire world. There are startups. These startups will be able to join a growing core of science and engineering-based businesses and institutions in Western Queens, such as the RNC Corporation, Chic Technologies, and the city's Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, as well as expanding centers of film and TV production. I was just at a ribbon cutting for JetBlue's new headquarters in Queens Plaza. They're bringing 1,000 new jobs back to the city. And at the same time, we built a new park there called Dutch Kills Green with a grant of $20 million from the federal government, which I was proud to achieve. But Roosevelt Island already has many parks, and with the Four Freedoms Park, it will be one of the greenest areas in New York City. This project has had the support of your elected officials, including Assemblymember Micah Kellner, who are outstanding assemblyman, who will be speaking later. He is here with us, along with Councilwoman Jessica Lappin. Councilmember Lappin is an energetic and active legislator who has passed bills to improve the environment, regulate crane operations, and make construction safer, and safeguard women's reproductive rights. Chair of the Council's Aging Committee, she leads the Council's effort to make New York City more age-friendly by protecting core services while planning for the future. As the Councilwoman for Roosevelt Island, she was an early supporter of having an applied sciences school here on the island, and I'm very pleased to turn the podium over to Jessica, and I want you to know that I will do everything I can to work with the community and Cornell to make this a huge, huge success. Congratulations to Roosevelt Island.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman Maloney. I am Jessica Lappin. It's my honor and privilege to represent Roosevelt Island and across the river at the Upper East Side in the City Council. I have said from the beginning and often, this is a game changer for our city. It's great for Roosevelt Island, it's great for Manhattan, and it is great for the entire city of New York. And you're going to hear tonight about this investment, this $2 billion investment in our city. And I think it says a lot about who we are and where we're going. It will generate tens of thousands of high-tech jobs over the next 30 years. But as we all know, there's a multiplier effect. There will be the faculty jobs, there will be the other jobs that are impacted, the construction jobs, both short-term and long-term. And I have certainly sensed it's created a lot of excitement and buzz, not just here where there are a lot of wonderful changes coming to the island, but certainly I can't seem to go anywhere, I can't even buy a gallon of milk without people talking to me about it at the grocery store, because there is really, really great excitement about this project. And I think it's a really positive example of how good, wise development should be encouraged and nurtured. But there are many questions to be answered and details to work out, and I know that that should and certainly will happen in partnership with this community. So tonight is a great opportunity for us to meet President David Skorton, who's the president of Cornell, to hear his presentation, to ask him questions, and to share our ideas. Before we do that, I wanted to introduce to you a man who has been a driving force behind this project. 2 years ago, he announced Mayor Bloomberg's plans to build an applied sciences school in New York City and has been working to make it happen ever since. He leads the economic development and affordable housing efforts in all 5 boroughs. Before that, he had a very, very successful career in the private sector in the U.S. Department of Treasury. He's the kind of person we are so fortunate to have working for us in city government, Deputy Mayor Robert Steele.
Councilman, it's great to be here, and thanks for those remarks. I think you've heard, to begin the framing of this by Congresswoman and now Councilmember Lappin about how excited we are about this. But let me just take a second on behalf of Mayor Bloomberg to talk about what we're excited about. I think recognizing the Congresswoman and the Councilwoman is important. We also have Leslie Torres, who's the president of REOC, who's here, and they've been fantastic to work with as this project has come forward through City Hall. Also Matthew Katz, the president of Roosevelt Island Residents Association, and members of the Community Board, and will be followed by my colleague, the president of the Economic Development Corporation, Mr. Seth Pinsky, and you also are going to hear from Cornell, the president, David Skorton, the provost, Ken Fox, Dean Dan Huttenlocker, and the vice president, Kathy Dove. It's a fantastic team that we in the city are getting to know more and more every day, and we couldn't be more excited, and our enthusiasm even continues to grow from what was an originally quite high level. And really we appreciate all of you who have come here tonight so that you can hear about what we've framed about this project already, but even more importantly, help us really put the details in place as to how this can develop going forward. I think that we're all excited and can't wait to hear your perspective, and the mayor, this is really a front-of-mind issue for him. I spoke to him today and told him about how keen we were to hear your perspective, and he asked me to share tomorrow what we learned so that he can continue to be part of this process. You know, let's just take a second and put a bit of perspective here. Mayor Bloomberg announced the plan for the RFEI in December of 2010, and we pushed the send button on what was the RFEI. And it's pretty amazing that 54 weeks later, a year and 2 weeks after inviting the RFEI, we had the RFEI, we gained that information, we organized that into an RFP, which we issued early in the summer, and then in October we heard back from the RFP, and then made the selection of Cornell and the Technion 54 weeks after we sent the first RFEI invitations out. So in an incredibly short period of time, we were able to select Cornell and the Technion to be the first winner of this type of prize. And I think that's something that's pretty exciting. But then, that's not all. After selecting them, and then announcing to all of you that we'd chosen them to be the winner, today we hear, just 4 months after that time, after this announcement, and we're already talking with you about the specific plans for how to bring this to life on Roosevelt Island. And that's really the purpose of today, is to continue to advance this idea of developing the perspective and getting a sharper focus on what it is we want to all build together. I think if you just imagine with me what we're talking about, and the Congresswoman laid this out, is that it's really an extraordinary, as she said, game changer. Just imagine as you come over on the tram from Manhattan and you look south at the 11 acres that you'll see. Basically, in the times ahead, there'll be 2,000 students, 250 faculty, 2 million square feet of building that's organized in a way to be incredibly productive, but on the cutting edge in terms of the academic use and also the translational use, but also thinking all the time about the environment and how we can make the right buildings that really fit and connect with the image of Roosevelt Island. And looking to the south, you'll also have the State Park, and then as you know, next autumn, we're going to have the Four Freedoms Park, will be just a crowning blow on the southern tip of Roosevelt Island. But let's be clear, there is a tremendous amount of work to be done from where we go forward from here. And let me just try to describe to you how we're thinking about this at City Hall on behalf of all of you. The first thing is the important work of relocating the patients who were today at Goldwater. Goldwater has a distinguished history, and it's served many challenging situations and diseases and patients over its long history. And so we salute what it's accomplished as we work so hard to get the current patients reorganized and relocated. Next, we'll take down the structures that are there today, and we'll also be expanding the infrastructure for the site, so then we can deliver to Cornell a tableau that will allow them to organize their plans for the future. When you think about it, this is one of the single largest investments ever made by an American institution of higher learning, anywhere, anytime. When you study higher education in America today, people are building, but it's almost always outside the United States. People are going to the Middle East, they're going to China and other parts of Asia, as people around the world recognize the value of American higher education. In those situations, those locations are paying all the expenses for the schools to go there. That's not what's happening here. Cornell is bringing their money here and making this investment on their own place. In Cornell, a land-grant school that was begun by Abraham Lincoln's stroke of a pen when he had the idea that we needed schools to take people from an agrarian society to one that was more forward-leaning in an industrial way. And Cornell has that great history of a land-grant school. And you think that with the not-for-profit orientation they have, to basically take the modest seed investment that we in the city provided to make this great investment. And what they're talking about spending is billions of their dollars, and instead taking the risk to build this on behalf of themselves and all of us. We're all in the administration appreciative and in awe and respectful of the size and scale and scope of their ambition and their investment. In response, what we're trying to think about at City Hall, and whenever I see President Skorton and his colleagues, is what can we in the city do to help you? We've made it clear, you did, as this process was unfolding, telling them how much you wanted them to be here and how you wanted to welcome them to Roosevelt Island. We also feel the same way. We were a bit neutral as to which place they took until they chose. That's what we had to do, but we wanted to welcome them to New York. So it's fantastic that they are here, and it's fantastic that they've chosen Roosevelt Island as the place where they want to launch this ambition. I think on behalf of the president of EDC, Seth Pinsky, we're thrilled to support President Skorton and the fantastic Cornell team in terms of what their ambition is for our city and for your community. Let me introduce you to my colleague, President Seth Pinsky, who runs the Economic Development Corporation, who really is day-to-day managing all this process for Cornell, as this will come to life before our eyes in the months ahead. Seth?
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Steele, and thank you also to the incredible elected officials that represent Roosevelt Island, including those that are gathered here today, Congresswoman Maloney, Councilmember Lappin, Assemblymember Kellner, Mr. Katz and the Community Board as well. Also thank you to President Skorton and all of his colleagues from Cornell. As Deputy Mayor Steele mentioned, the Bloomberg administration in New York City are really thrilled to see this project moving forward. In Cornell and the Technion, we found partners who share our ambitious vision. And thanks to their efforts, we're confident that this campus will not only meet, but will actually exceed our high expectations. Now, we of course know the enormous positive impacts that this campus is going to have on our city as a whole, creating thousands of jobs, generating tens of billions of dollars in tax revenues, and molding the talent that will lead to the creation of hundreds of new companies and drive our economy in the 21st century. But we also believe that this project will result in tremendous benefits for Roosevelt Island and for its residents. From the development of significant new open space, to a campus that offers programming to the local community, to partnerships with local schools across Roosevelt Island, to a campus that will be among the greenest in the world, to a whole host of educational and training programs that will be available to city residents generally and to Roosevelt Island residents more particularly. In fact, one of the reasons that we selected Cornell and the Technion was because of their interest in a neighborhood, this neighborhood, Roosevelt Island, where so many residents aggressively courted their presence and recognized the importance of this project. And guess what? All of you were right. This development is, in fact, critical to New York City's economic future. And so I just want to conclude by thanking so many of Roosevelt Island's residents for their enthusiasm and their support for this project, and their recognition from day one that this project is different in so many ways from many other development projects, and accordingly will require a collaborative approach that ultimately assures the project's feasibility, and when all is said and done, secures this multi-billion-dollar investment that will literally transform our city for generations. Thank you.
Before I bring up our next speaker, I wanted to acknowledge some representatives of elected officials who are not here tonight. Senator Gillibrand has a representative, Sam Cooper, here. From Councilmember Jimmy Van Bramer's office, who represents just across the river in Queens, Matt Wallace. And from Borough President Stringer's office, we have Kristen Ellis and Carolina Hall. Next, we're going to hear from our beloved Assembly member, who everybody knows. He doesn't need much of an introduction in this room, but in case you live under a rock, even before he was elected, he worked very closely with Islanders as an aide to our Congresswoman and other city officials. He has been very passionate in the fight to preserve affordable housing here on the island, and has been a tireless advocate, really on a national level, for the disabled community. Our Assembly member, Micah Keller.
Thank you, Councilmember Lappin, and thank you to my old boss, Congresswoman Maloney. Once you work for the Congresswoman, you never stop really working for the Congresswoman. I'm so glad to be their partner in this effort, and I want to particularly thank Deputy Mayor Steele and Seth Pinsky, head of EDC. If you have not read it, there is an amazing profile that sort of does the tick-tock, the behind-the-scenes of everything that Seth did. It's in the New York Observer to make this come and become a reality. And the way they did this in such a transparent and open way is a real testament to their commitment to making sure that everyone was included, that everyone's voices are heard, and that's what a lot of tonight is about. And I want to thank Kathy Dove, the newest Roosevelt Islander. I think it shows the commitment of this university, that before it's even here, the person that's going to lead it now lives on the island. She has met with so many of you over the past few months to hear your ideas and your vision as to what you want to see Cornell bring to this island. And now we are going to hear from someone who leads this university to tell you about what his vision is. So tonight, we are all honored to be joined by somebody who is seeing in the future past the borders of this island, into the future of this city and this state. President David Skorton has been at the helm of Cornell University just about 6 years now. Before his selection, he was the president of the University of Iowa for 3 years, where he was an esteemed professor for 26 years. So we stole a Hawkeye. Dr. Scorton holds both a bachelor's and an MD from Northwestern University. Professionally, his medical research has focused on congenital heart disease, cardiac imaging, and imaging processing, and he's written extensively over these subjects on his long career. He is the co-founder and co-director of the University of Iowa Adolescent and Adult Congenital Heart Disease Clinic. He is recognized nationally as a leader in research ethics. He has served as the charter president of the first organization specifically designed to accredit human research protection programs, the aptly titled Association for the Accreditation of Human Research Protection Programs. President Scorton holds faculty appointments as a professor of medicine and pediatrics at Weill Cornell Medical College, just across the river, and is a professor of biomedical engineering at Cornell's College of Engineering. So when it comes to engineering, he knows what he's talking about. But his commitment to higher education reaches far beyond the walls of Cornell's campus. He is the previous chairman of the Business Higher Education Forum, a lifelong member of the Council on Foreign Relations, life member, and a member of the board of directors of the Association of the American Medical Colleges. He was elected to the Institute of Medicine of the National Academies and is a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. And Dr. Scorton has served on boards at the boards of a half dozen other national medical and academic organizations. He's received a true honor in his field of study when he was chosen to be the Master of the American College of Cardiology. Since coming to Cornell, the president, along with the provost, established the University Diversity Council, which he and the provost chair jointly. He has also become very active in student life up in Ithaca, writing monthly columns for Cornell's newspaper and the alumni magazine. Well, President Scorton, I'm sure there's space for you in the wire. President Scorton has taken a real interest in what happens here in New York and has proven his commitment to us time and time again over his short tenure. In 2009, former Governor Patterson asked him to chair a task force on diversifying New York State's economy through industry higher education partnerships. And recently, Governor Cuomo appointed him as the co-chair of the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Council. I know he'll continue to add his impressive resume with his new venture between Cornell, the Technion, and the people of Roosevelt Island. I'm excited to hear what he's going to say tonight, and I'm sure you are too. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the president of Cornell University and the new partner for Roosevelt Island, Dr. James Scorton.